The Johnsons had just moved into their new house, a charming two-story colonial tucked away on a quiet suburban street. It was a dream come true for them: spacious rooms, a beautiful backyard, and a welcoming neighborhood. However, there was one thing about the house that made them a little uneasy: the washroom. From the moment they moved in, the washroom on the ground floor seemed to have a strange, unsettling presence. It was a small, windowless room with dated floral wallpaper that had seen better days. The Johnsons decided to give it a fresh coat of paint and replace the fixtures, hoping to make it a bit more inviting. One evening, as Sarah Johnson was getting ready for bed, she heard a faint, eerie whisper coming from the washroom. She couldn't make out what it was saying, but it sent shivers down her spine. She dismissed it as her imagination playing tricks on her, attributing it to the stress of the move. Over the next few weeks, odd things began happening in the washroom. The lights flickered at random times, the faucet would turn on by itself, and sometimes, when Sarah was alone in the house, she could hear the sound of footsteps in the washroom, even when she knew no one was there. One night, as Sarah was brushing her teeth, she looked into the mirror and saw a reflection behind her. It was a shadowy figure, tall and menacing, standing in the washroom doorway. She screamed and turned around, but there was no one there. She convinced herself that it was just her imagination, but the fear remained. The washroom's unsettling behavior continued to escalate. Objects would move on their own, and Sarah began to have vivid, disturbing nightmares involving the washroom. She confided in her husband, Mark, but he was skeptical and believed it was all in her head. One evening, as they were hosting a dinner party with their new neighbors, the washroom's door swung open violently, causing a collective gasp from their guests. Mark rushed to close it, but it wouldn't budge. It was as if an invisible force was holding it open. The guests exchanged uneasy glances, and Sarah's fear turned into embarrassment as they all witnessed the bizarre event. Desperate for answers, the Johnsons contacted a local paranormal investigator. As the investigator delved into the history of the house, they discovered that it had once belonged to a reclusive artist who had died under mysterious circumstances in the washroom. The investigator believed that the artist's restless spirit was the cause of the strange occurrences. With the investigator's help, the Johnsons performed a cleansing ritual in the washroom, hoping to appease the spirit. Afterward, the washroom seemed to calm down, and the unsettling events ceased. The Johnsons could finally breathe a sigh of relief and enjoy their new home without the washroom horror that had plagued them. But late at night, when the house was quiet and everyone was asleep, Sarah would sometimes hear faint whispers coming from the washroom, a reminder that some stories never truly have an ending, and some spirits are never fully at rest. Story 2. The Andersons had moved into their new house in a remote countryside area, looking forward to the tranquility it promised. The house was a charming, century-old cottage with a rich history, and they were excited about the fresh start. However, they soon discovered that the quaint washroom on the second floor held a dark secret. From the moment they stepped inside the house, Sarah Anderson had an eerie feeling about the washroom. It was a small, dimly lit space with old-fashioned fixtures and a clawfoot bathtub. She couldn't quite put her finger on it, but something about the room made her skin crawl. One night, as Sarah was taking a relaxing bath, she heard a faint, mournful cry coming from the drain. She quickly drained the tub and hurried out of the washroom, thinking it might have been some animal trapped in the plumbing. But when she inspected the room, there was nothing amiss. Over the next few weeks, the washroom became a place of dreadful error. Strange things began happening: the taps would turn on and off by themselves, and the water in the toilet would ripple without explanation. Sarah's husband, David, dismissed her concerns as mere superstition, but he couldn't ignore the unease that seemed to permeate the washroom. One evening, as David was taking a shower, he felt an icy hand on his shoulder. He turned around to find no one there but saw the foggy outline of a handprint on the steamed-up bathroom mirror. Terrified, he jumped out of the shower and rushed to tell Sarah. They decided to investigate the history of the house. After some research, they discovered that the cottage had been the site of a tragic drowning many decades ago. A young girl had perished in the very washroom where they were now experiencing these unsettling events. It was said that her spirit still lingered, trapped in the house. Desperate to put the restless spirit to rest, the Andersons sought the help of a medium. The medium performed a séance in the washroom, attempting to communicate with the ghost. It was a chilling experience as the room grew icy cold, and the lights flickered. The medium finally made contact with the spirit, and they learned that she had been searching for her lost doll. In a heartfelt gesture, the Andersons placed a vintage doll they found in the attic in the washroom. From that day on, the haunting ceased, and the washroom returned to a sense of normalcy. It seemed that the ghost had found solace knowing her beloved doll was no longer lost. The Andersons came to accept the presence of the spirit in their home, and they felt a sense of peace knowing they had helped her find what she was looking for. The washroom, once a place of fear, became a symbol of compassion and understanding, a reminder that sometimes even the darkest stories can find a resolution. Story 3. In a quaint, suburban home, the Johnson family moved in with excitement and dreams of a peaceful life. The house, a charming two-story with a white picket fence, seemed like the perfect place to raise their children. However, their happiness was short-lived as they soon discovered an evil presence lurking in the washroom. The washroom, located in the dimly lit basement, had a history that the realtor conveniently omitted. It was a small, windowless space with peeling wallpaper and a cracked mirror. From the very first day, they felt an unsettling chill whenever they entered. They decided to renovate it, hoping a fresh look would dispel the eerie vibes. As they worked on the renovations, strange things began to happen. Tools went missing, and the workers reported hearing faint whispers in the room. They joked about the haunted washroom, but their unease grew. One night, as Sarah Johnson was giving her kids a bath, she noticed something odd in the mirror. It reflected a shadowy figure lurking behind her, its eyes filled with malevolence. She turned around, but there was nothing there. Panic set in, but she told herself it was exhaustion playing tricks on her. The situation escalated when their youngest child, Lily, started talking about her new friend in the basement washroom. She described the figure as a tall, shadowy man who whispered to her at night, promising her secrets. Sarah and her husband, Mark, were horrified, convinced that something was terribly wrong. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, they heard a loud crash coming from the basement. Mark rushed down to investigate, and what he found chilled him to the bone. The washroom door, which had been locked, was wide open, and Lily was standing at the threshold, staring into the darkness with vacant eyes. Terrified for their daughter, the Johnsons decided to seek help from a paranormal investigator. They learned that the house had once been owned by a man involved in dark occult practices, and it was believed that he had summoned an evil entity that now dwelled in the washroom. The investigator performed a seance to communicate with the spirit. As the room grew icy cold, a malevolent presence made itself known. It revealed that it sought to claim Lily's soul, having been denied its due for decades. With the help of a local priest and a series of exorcisms, they managed to banish the evil spirit from the washroom. The room, once a place of horror, was sealed off and left untouched. Lily slowly returned to her cheerful self, and the family found solace in their newfound peace. However, the memory of the malevolent spirit in the washroom haunted them for years to come, a chilling reminder that some darkness lingers, waiting for the right moment to return. Years passed, and the Johnson family did their best to put the terrifying events of that period behind them. The basement washroom remained locked and untouched, its dark secrets sealed away. They sought therapy for Lily, who had been deeply affected by her encounter with the malevolent spirit, and she slowly began to regain her sense of security. As time went on, the family grew and changed. Lily blossomed into a bright and imaginative teenager, always the first to brush off the lingering fear of the past. The Johnsons had even considered moving, but they couldn't bring themselves to abandon the home they had invested so much love into. Yet, it seemed the malevolent spirit had not completely left them. Occasionally, on quiet nights when the wind whispered through the trees, Sarah would hear faint echoes of that chilling whisper from the basement. It was as if the evil entity, though banished, still clung to the house, searching for a way back. One evening, as Lily was preparing for college, the family decided to confront the darkness once and for all. With the help of a seasoned paranormal investigator, they embarked on a mission to cleanse the house entirely. The investigator believed that a final confrontation was necessary to sever the spirit's ties to the home. The night of the ritual was filled with tension. The Johnsons and the investigator gathered in the basement, in front of the sealed washroom door. They chanted incantations, burned sage, and sprinkled holy water. As they did, the temperature plummeted, and a sinister presence filled the room. The washroom door rattled violently, as if something on the other side was desperate to break free. In the midst of the chaos, the investigator spoke directly to the spirit. It revealed its tragic history, explaining that it had been drawn into darkness by the previous owner's malevolent rituals. It had yearned for release, unable to find peace until it was confronted. In a final act of compassion, the Johnsons offered forgiveness to the spirit, acknowledging the pain it had suffered. They promised to remember its story and light a candle every year in its memory. With that, the malevolent spirit let out a blood-curdling shriek and dissipated into a swirling mist. The washroom door slammed shut with a deafening bang, and the temperature in the room returned to normal. It was over. The Johnsons opened the washroom door for the first time in years, and to their surprise, it was no longer the foreboding chamber it once was. It had transformed into a cozy storage space, bathed in warm light. The family decided to keep it this way, a symbol of their triumph over the darkness that had once plagued their lives. Years passed, and the Johnsons lived in peace. The basement washroom became a place of healing, a testament to the power of love and forgiveness. They never forgot the horrors they had endured, but they also never let those memories define them. Instead, they chose to focus on the future, cherishing the life they had built together in their home.